This video is brought to you by Brilliant. Now, for international viewers, it's very easy to look at the UK and assume that we have a two-party system consisting of only Labour and the Conservatives. However, look a little closer and you'll see that there are a number of other political parties in the UK with significant power. Across the UK, the Liberal Democrats have almost 3,000 councillors. In Scotland and Northern Ireland, the SNP and Sinn Féin respectively lead the devolved governments. However, even this is overlooking some smaller parties that have come onto the political scene in recent years. So in this video, we'll have a look at these smaller parties in the UK, looking specifically at what they do, how they came about, and what their impact will likely be in future elections. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. Now, it's worth starting this video by pointing out that we actually made a similar video to this a couple of years ago. You can find that linked in the description below. This video is slightly different, and is going to have a look at some more recently relevant political parties. Specifically, the Reclaim Party, the Workers' Party, and Alba. So let's have a look at these one by one, starting with the Reclaim Party. Now, this party has its roots in another party founded in 2019 called Brexit Express, which was founded by Jeremy Hoskin, although it quickly changed its name to Reclaim and its leader to Laurence Fox. Now, Fox is an interesting character, being known for his acting career. He and his Reclaim Party were a vocal critic of the lockdowns in the UK and COVID vaccines. In fact, following Andrew Bridgen being suspended from the Conservative Party after tweeting that the COVID-19 vaccines are the biggest crime against humanity since the Holocaust, he joined the Reclaim Party and sat as their only MP between May and December last year. However, being critical of the UK's pandemic response isn't the only thing they stand for. On their website, they explain that they want to change free speech laws, specifically at universities, depoliticise national institutions, and end illegal immigration. The biggest election the Reclaim Party has stood in so far was the 2021 London mayoral election, with Laurence Fox stating that he wanted to fight against extreme political correctness and put an end to the Metropolitan Police's obsession with diversity and inclusion. This didn't go terribly well, and Fox came sixth with only 47,634 votes, or about 1.9%. As a result, he lost his £10,000 election deposit. Last year, Fox also stood in the Uxbridge and South Ruislip by-election, which was held following Boris Johnson's resignation from Parliament. While his vote share increased to 2.3%, he again lost his deposit. As things stand, Reclaim claim that they'll stand candidates in the general election, although it's not known exactly how many or where they'll stand them. Okay, so moving on to the next party in our list, the Workers' Party of Great Britain. This too is a newly formed party, being established in December 2019, specifically after the landslide election defeat of Jeremy Corbyn. Their ideology is left-wing and aims to challenge the Labour Party in elections. The party has been endorsed by the Communist Party of Great Britain and is opposed to NATO and the EU. It also advocates a referendum on net zero policies and on the monarchy. However, the party differs from Labour in more fundamental ideological ways. Firstly, on social policy. Labour are broadly socially liberal, whereas the Workers' Party are more socially conservative, rejecting policies such as gender self-identification. Second, they differ on foreign policy, with the Workers' Party being openly anti-Zionist. It's this policy that became so important in the Rochdale by-election, which took place earlier this year. Rochdale has a large Muslim community, and following October the 7th, this issue only became more salient. The Workers' Party selected their leader George Galloway to be the candidate in this seat. Galloway himself is a deeply controversial figure here in the UK. Galloway used to be a Labour MP, but had the whip removed for comments about Iraq, which, it was argued, brought the party into disrepute. Beyond that, Galloway also made some questionable statements about the sexual assault allegations surrounding Julian Assange, cast doubts on the involvement of the Russian government in the poisoning of Yulia and Sergei Skripal in Salisbury, and was sacked from Talk Radio for what they thought was an anti-Semitic tweet posted to his Twitter account. Irrespective of this, Galloway has a long history of support for Palestine, and after the Labour candidate in Rochdale had the whip withdrawn by Labour for his comments about Israel, Galloway was in pole position. He now sits as their first and only MP. As things stand, the party aims to field 59 candidates at the next general election, with Rochdale being one of them. It could be tricky though for Galloway to retain his seat, given national polling for Labour and the strong Labour showings at recent general elections in the seat. Moving on then to the last party we're going to have a look at in this video, the Alba Party. Now again, this is another relatively new party, being founded in 2021 by former Scottish First Minister and leader of the SNP, Alex Salmond. Politically, Alba nominally align very closely with that of the SNP, which makes sense given Salmond's background, and the most important policy for both parties is their commitment to Scottish independence. So if they both agree on what they both perceive to be the most important policy, why was Alba even created? Well, part of this lies with a personal feud between Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon. After he stood down as leader of the SNP, Salmond was accused of sexual misconduct, and the Scottish Government, then headed by Sturgeon, conducted a probe into these allegations, a probe that later turned out to be unlawful. Salmond was, though, charged by police for 14 offences. He was found not guilty on 12 of these charges, not proven in one, and one of the sexual assault charges was withdrawn. There were rumours that Salmond believes that Sturgeon and her inner circle tried to bring him down and jail him, and that this might be one of the reasons that he founded Alba. Anyway, even aside from this, there are ways in which the SNP and Alba differ, most notably on social policy. While the SNP are pressing ahead with policy surrounding gender reform, Alba have argued against it. Alex Salmond describes the SNP's Gender Recognition Reform Bill as the worst legislation in the history of devolution. In fact, it was their opposition to this policy that persuaded former SNP leadership candidate Ash Regan to jump ship and join the party. So while Alba officially describes itself as left of centre, there is reason to think that in some areas, notably social policy, they exhibit some more right-wing views. As things stand, it looks as though Alba are going to field at least 12 candidates in the next general election, although whether they win any seats is as yet unknown. So, all in all, it seems that there are a handful of smaller fringe parties standing in the next election, all of whom are going to try and take votes and power away from the larger, more established parties. We'll just have to wait and see, though, if any of them are actually successful. Now, understanding exactly what has or is going to happen here can be a little tricky, requiring you to evaluate lots of information from different, often partial sources. It would be sensible then to begin improving your critical thinking skills so that you can keep sharp and better understand what's going on. And, well, our sponsor, Brilliant.org, can help you do just that. Brilliant is the online learning platform that's designed specifically to teach you everything from maths, data analysis, programming, and AI from the ground up. You don't need a fancy degree or to have dedicated hundreds of hours to studying any of these. All you need is a device with an internet connection and a few spare minutes a day. And with your spare few minutes, you'll learn by actually doing, with Brilliant providing hands-on lessons that help you play around with concepts, a method that has been shown to be 6 times more effective than just watching lectures. What makes this even better is that this content is created by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from MIT, Caltech, Duke, Microsoft, and more. To try everything that Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, click on the link in the description. And that way, you'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.